Welcome to Building Birmingham Together, a show about Birmingham's business leaders' successes, failures, and lessons learned to encourage you to remember that dreaming is free, but the hustle is sold separately. I'm your host, Kim Lee, founder and CEO of Forge. Building Birmingham Together is brought to you today by Forge. Forge is Birmingham's first professional co-working space located in the heart of downtown Birmingham at the Pizitz Building. With private offices, open workspace, as well as meeting and event space, Forge is the place where small business owners, entrepreneurs, and remote workers come together, meet new people, and get work done. If you would like to find out more about Forge, you can visit workatforge.com and schedule a tour directly on our website. Today, we have Dr. Adrienne Starks on Building Birmingham Together. Dr. Starks founded Stream Innovations in 2015. The mission of Stream Innovations is to help students develop and explore their passion in science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics by providing exposure, experiences, and engagement with high expectations for their success. Dr. Starks is a native of Fairfield, Alabama, and received a BS in biology from Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University. She received a PhD in biological sciences from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the National Cancer Institute. In 2019, she was also selected as an AAAS If Then Ambassador, which we will talk about later on. But this is a national initiative through the Linda Hill Philanthropies with the mission to increase STEM exposure to girls by providing women in STEM innovator role models from a broad range of STEM careers to share their stories. It is so cool. And then in 2020, she was an evaluation panelist for Equity Can't Wait Challenge, which provided $40 million for proposals that expand women's power and influence in the U.S. by 2030, which is supported by Melinda Gates and Mackenzie Bezos. Scott, which is pretty cool people to have supporting the work that you're doing. But while all of these accomplishments are extremely amazing, and we will get to talk about some of these later in the episode, what will stand out as you listen to Adrienne's story is how her love for science and her drive to bring the same exposure to underserved communities has allowed her to have a bigger impact on her community than she ever imagined. So, Adrienne, I know you love sitting there hearing all these things talked about you. It's not awkward at all, but you've done so many things and do so much for our community. So I am so happy to have you on Building Birmingham Together today.
So much, Kim, for the invitation. And of course, I would come. You supported so much of what we do with Stream. And I love what you're doing in Birmingham.
Oh, well, thank you. So, okay, I want to give you this opportunity before we dive in a little bit more about you and your journey to just tell us what all Stream Innovations does. What Stream Innovations does. I don't even know. The plural on the innovations has thrown me off.
Do a lot. Currently, we have about almost 7 different programs, but we started off with 3 core programs. And all of our programs are designed so that we support communities that are underrepresented and underserved. We start with programming in 3rd grade, from 3rd through 6th grade. And we have partnered with local entities like your local library and recreation center to provide hands-on activities around STREAM, the entire acronym. And we have also done a computer coding boot camp for rising 7th and 8th graders so that they would be able to develop websites their first year. Their second year, they are developing apps. The third year, they are working on computer repair and learning how to troubleshoot and take computers apart. And this year, we're hoping to be able to launch a student-run tech company for them as they are matriculating through that program. So over the years, we've been able to continue to build on that with after-school programming, in addition to doing work within communities, and lastly, being able to do video series as well that show the importance of how STEM can impact and change your life.
Okay, so Adrienne, before we get into more of your journey and how you got to where you are today, I would love for you to share with us what Stream Innovations does.
Gotcha.
I know that's a loaded question because I know you do a whole lot. So that you could probably fill the whole episode with.
We started off with 3 core programs, and all of our programs are geared towards supporting communities that are underrepresented and underserved. So we started with partnerships in local libraries and recreation centers to be able to bring hands-on activities around the entire STREAM acronym. We've also done a computer coding boot camp for rising 7th and 8th graders so that they could do web design, app development, computer hardware repair, as well as we're looking to launch a new student-run tech company so that they could use those skills to be able to make money for themselves. So all of our programs are geared around exposure, developing very significant experiences that are memorable and impactful, and allowing them to have engagement around these different disciplines within your city so that you understand how your passion and your gift is needed in the world.
Yeah. So now, do you go into schools, or what do these programs look like for the younger kids? When or where did these programs take place?
So the first few years were really summer-based programs. So we started off in Inglenook, which was right behind the airport, and we were at that library and rec center, and we had the coding boot camp at Inglenook K through 8, and all of this was throughout the summer. Over the last 4 years, we've extended to multiple locations around Jefferson County during the summer, whether it's West End, Inslee, North Birmingham. We've also been in Fairfield, which is my hometown, Pleasant Grove, Hueytown, Adamsville, Bessemer, and Midfield. And how it has functioned in the past is that we would provide summer opportunities so that students could get more engagement. We've also done a after-school program in Fairfield with a great partnership through Better Basics, where we served as one of their vendors, and we supported each of the schools within that district. We've also done video programs and video projects where we had a partnership with the CBS TV show Mission Unstoppable so that girls could be able to recreate experiments that they did on the show. So I'm excited because we continue to do our core programming, and we start with 3rd grade, and we never had the intention of going up to high school, but we do that now. And that is because we have the flexibility of developing programs based upon the needs of the students and communities. So we currently have been in urban areas. We're very interested in going into rural areas because if the needs are great here, the needs are even more significant in places that have very little investment.
Right. So, okay, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what drew you into STEM education?
So, as you said earlier, I'm from Fairfield, Alabama, and born and raised probably 3rd or 4th generation in
Oh,
Fairfield.
wow. Oh, wow.
And I know, right? So went to all of Fairfield City schools. And as a kid, I was interested in science. So way back in the golden days when you had a Toys R Us catalog and service merchandise and Sears,
Oh, yes. Oh, I remember those. Yes.
I went through and I always highlighted science-based toys. So I asked for a microscope when I guess maybe I was in the 3rd grade. And from there, that was just always something that interested me. So being able to develop my own slides, to exploring bugs and things outside, that was just something that allowed me to escape one, but I could just get lost in doing that for hours. From there, I, really enjoyed high school and middle school science. So I was that kid that either you liked or you didn't like because I messed up the curve. Meaning if there was a science project, I was going above and beyond.
Oh,
Like
you knocked
if
it out of the
there was,
park.
oh, I really messed it up. So some of my old classmates may not have liked me because of that. But if you said, let's do a solar system, like let's draw it out, I'm getting the styrofoam balls and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
painting the whole diorama because I thought it was cool. And from there, that interest just continued with the different subjects that were introduced to me from middle school to high school. And
Mm-hmm.
then deciding to go to Alabama A&M for um, college in biology and having the opportunity to do internships. So my first internship, I guess, was when I was in high school. I went to UAB for a program called, I believe it was Bio Teach, something of that nature. At that time, they would pay students
Oh,
to come for the summer and learn. And I thought, this sign me up for this. To do the thing that I like, you're gonna pay me to? Yeah, let's do that. So I
so
did
it
that
was
for
just to
3 months.
learn. It wasn't, you weren't even like doing a job for them. You weren't doing an internship. You were just there to learn. That's amazing.
There to learn. And every summer from that, I think it was my sophomore year in high school, I always did different internships in addition to working.
Yeah.
So it was a thing where I had an opportunity to be exposed to something very new and I could get paid for it. So that was the first time I was exposed to studying cancer as well when I was at
In high
UAB
school.
in high school. Mhm. Yep, yep. So I my experience strongly connects me to why stream is so important
Mm-hmm.
because having an exposure early on to the thing that you like or being able to have exposure to say I do not like that is
Yeah.
extremely important.
Yeah. Cause I know you did that with some of your internships.
Yeah, I also did a medical internship too because I thought I wanted to be a physician.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that I didn't like it. I was again interning at UAB when I was in college and shadowed Dr. Sharon Spencer, who was in radiation oncology at UAB.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that it was going to be very difficult for me to compartmentalize patients that we couldn't help.
Mm.
And that was a part of the job that you didn't know that you were going to be able to handle or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a part that was difficult. So that summer we worked with cadavers, we did classes, none of that was an issue. But having patients to come in that had advanced stages of cancer and having to tell them that there was nothing else that we could do
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit beyond the threshold of what I wanted my life to be.
So then at that point, when you realized, okay, I love biology, I love science, I thought I was going to go into medicine. Medicine doesn't seem like it's a fit. What did you do with that? I mean, how did you figure out how to
I
navigate those waters?
I had another internship.
I love
And I
it.
did it. I did an internship at the University of Michigan one summer. I think it was my junior year. And that was when something happened that never, ever, ever happens. And that is every experiment that I did went perfectly, perfectly. Like everything I touched was gold. And I would come in early in the morning. I would stay late at night because everything I tried, I was giving them new information. I was being adventurous and taking risks because the expectation in the summers for interns is that you have a project, but we're not really expecting you to do that much.
Yeah.
So I just exceeded expectations in that space. And, at that time, working with Dr. Mach Jungman, he even allowed me to shadow a physician there because I was trying to figure out what am I going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought let's do research. Let's definitely do research. And just spoiler alert, that never happened again where everything I touched was gold. Like no, never happened again.
It was
But
just the
I
Lord's
held
way
on
of
to that.
confirming this is where you should be. This is
This
where
is
you
where
should
you
be.
should be,
No
although you will
doubts.
never look like this again. But it was a great experience to, feel connected to something and develop a passion
Mm-hmm.
because you had curiosity and you wanted to discover something. That was just the beauty of doing research for me.
Mm-hmm. So when you went to get your PhD, when you realized, okay, I need to go on to just undergrad for biology,
Mm-hmm.
how did you see yourself using your degree?
I didn't know. And
Yeah.
that was because I didn't know a lot of people that had PhDs. I didn't know many scientists. The scientists that I knew were at UAB,
Mm-hmm.
and many of them were Indian, Asian, few white guys, but no one from my hometown, no one that I could have a conversation with to say, so you have this amazing degree. What are you doing with it? How
Mm-hmm.
can you I didn't know you could be a principal investigator. I didn't know that you could run your own labs and develop treatments or discover anything that you desire once you started to study a particular subject.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to graduate school because I was told that that's what you're supposed to do as your next step.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so I'm going to do the next step. And left A&M in Huntsville and moved to Maryland. I had never been to Maryland outside of one visit before then, and
Oh,
packed
wow.
up that summer and drove up, and I was there for over a decade.
And so in there, you got your PhD.
Mhm.
And what was your specific field of study?
So my degree is in
Oh,
biological sciences, but my work was in quantitative genetics. And my dissertation topic was age-specific natural genetic variation influencing quantitative traits in Drosophila melanogaster.
you just like played a trump card on me and everybody listening.
And it's super simple. So Drosophila, to break it down, are fruit flies. We wanted
Okay.
to look at age-specific genetic variation. So with the genes that you have, do they change functionality um, with age? And we looked at quantitative traits, and those are things that you can measure. So we measure lifespan, immune response, reproductive output, as well as energy storage. And I wanted to understand with fruit flies, if a fly lived a longer lifespan, does that mean that its immune response was poor or that it had a lower reproductive output because energy was being conserved for lifespan? So we were doing this in fruit flies because this type of research is almost impossible to do with humans, to be able to understand your total life output and to be able to understand the genes that are
Mm,
responsible for that. So that's why using model organisms is extremely important in scientific research.
hmm. So help connect the dots how you got from studying fruit flies and spending 4 years, I'm guessing it was a 4-year degree, to now you're back here in Alabama not doing research. What was that journey like? Yeah, and how did you make that transition?
It was not it was not a decision where I woke up one morning and said, I have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I finished my PhD in 8 years, so let me be really honest. It was typically most PhDs are between 6 to 10 years, to
Oh
be
my.
honest with you.
Yep.
And it depends on the work that you're doing. I was doing an aging study, so I had to wait for things
Oh
to
my.
age before I could look at do the analysis.
Uh-huh.
So from there, I talked to the president of my university, Dr. Freeman Rabowski, who is also a Birmingham native.
Oh.
And I know, right? So I asked him, no, he asked me, so tell me about your research. He ate it up. And he said, okay, you should do health disparities research. I was like, oh, I don't know what that is, but I'm not going to ask him. I'm just going to
Yeah.
do it.
Just gonna do it.
And yeah, from there, I did a postdoc at the National Cancer Institute looking at cancer disparities. So he felt that if you understand the genetic basis for differences, let's look at things with humans where we see phenotypic differences, meaning differences in outcomes. So I was looking at breast and prostate cancer research. So how stress impacts cancer progression and mortality rates in African Americans different than European Americans in breast and prostate cancer. So from there, I'm on Facebook, social media, like everyone else, and was just not a fan of the changes that were happening in my city. And that's not just me; that could be, most cities across the country.
Mm-hmm.
But Fairfield is where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt like it did not reflect the city that I grew up in.
Mm.
So my decision was to secure another postdoc, which is what I did,
Mm-hmm.
come home to Alabama for a month, start a nonprofit, get it running off the ground, move back to Maryland, and run it from Maryland. Anyone that understands business, nonprofit in particular, knows that I was super ambitious. I almost a little bit too naive. And once I came, well, before I left, that's a whole nother story where my offer for my second postdoc was rescinded.
Oh.
Whole nother story, totally. And so I moved back to Alabama in that month time and was trying to figure out, do I move back to Maryland or DC, or do I stay here and do this? And over the course of that month, God definitely showed a lot of situations where the work that I envisioned doing was important here. And I considered, what would it look like to do research, or what would it look like to do to start a company? And for those that don't know, in the world of research, you do not get to do something second.
Mm.
It's research or nothing. Second thing is, with research, if you are away from the bench, and I did bench research where I worked with chemicals and a number of different things. If you step away from that for too long, you can no longer do it again. And that is because your training has to consistently be up to date. So now I've been away from the bench for almost 7 years.
Mm.
No one's going to trust me to go back into the lab right now. So I decided to pour everything that I knew into Stream Innovations, because I knew that exposure was how I was able to go to Alabama A&M and Michigan and DC. And because of that, because of my passion, people paid me to go different places to learn.
Mm.
And it wasn't just unique to me, and it wasn't just unique to science. Particularly in STEM, these things are important because our country does not have enough individuals to fill those positions.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back to Alabama and starting Stream Innovations and changing the acronym to from STEAM to Stream, so adding reading and art to it, was very intentional. And it was because the need is tremendous in our city as well as our state. And having the ability to use not just my experiences, but my network, to be
Mm-hmm.
able to showcase the importance of finding your passion and being able to not just change your life, but those around you.
So, what did that exposure, how do you think when you were young, what did that exposure look like for you? And how did you see that it was lacking for other kids?
So, of course, as a kid, you don't know what other people have and they don't have. So, me
Mm-hmm.
living in Fairfield, I didn't know about people living anywhere else. And growing up, because this is a Birmingham podcast, which is awesome, we didn't have the McWayne Center. We had something
Right.
called the Discovery Zone, which was the best.
Oh,
And it was because it was very similar to the McWayne Center, where everything was hands
uh-huh.
on. And going to the Discovery Center, having parents that were supportive, but they didn't push us into a lot of different things. If I had an interest, they would support it. So I was also interested in art, so it wasn't just science all day long. And from there, being able to say and articulate what I liked, even if it was just, I like science. So if that's the case, parents have an opportunity to, at this point, Google something to say, where are the science things? If a child says, I like ballet, now you know where to hone into. And that was something that happened with me. So my brother and my sister are STEM people too. So my brother is an architectural engineer.
Oh,
Growing
wow.
up, he had Legos, Lincoln Logs, erector sets. My sister is a registered nurse. Growing up, if someone had a cut, she would bring everyone to our house. So they would get a Band-Aid, and those were the things. My sister didn't ask for a microscope for Christmas. My brother didn't ask for a microscope for Christmas. But our natural desires kind of showed up in our everyday lives. And we had the opportunity to have family around us that supported that and that
Mm-hmm.
listened to that. And the reason that I developed Stream is because sometimes that may be difficult to either hear or be able to support your child as they're growing and they have all of these different things that they're interested in and
Mm-hmm.
not just one particular field, whether they're interested in art or technology or gaming or science or tech, or they love math or they read all day long. As a parent, you want to figure out, how can I best support my child? And
Right.
how can I do things that set them up to have not just an advantage, but to have a life that they enjoy living? And that's a part of, I'm definitely getting to the place where I'm comfortable being a CEO, where I have to make decisions about my company and as well as the people that we serve. So this is a different thing. I did not grow up saying I want to be the CEO of a nonprofit. I don't know many people that say that. So my road to this is not like many other people either.
I think most people are probably like you, who they have a passion and it lands them in the CEO role, and they're like, oh, now we
Exactly.
got to figure this out.
Figure it out as we go. I agree.
Well, so, okay, that leads me to my next question. Um, so, I when I started this podcast, it intentionally wasn't just like business leaders, because anybody leading an organization, it has to be run well. So you
Mhm.
may be categorized as a nonprofit, but you're definitely a business.
I agree.
And you have to make the money work just like a business. If the money doesn't work, then Stream is not going to work. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced as you're growing? Because I know you're growing your organization, you're
Mhm.
growing your team. So what are some of the challenges that you've faced?
Some of the challenges that I faced with Stream was really understanding the nonprofit world
Mm,
and going from a place where I was a scientist and um, my salary was fixed in the science world. I didn't have to ask for much because this was the standard,
mm-hmm.
and I was also an employee. So
Right.
shifting all of those norms to, now I have to learn how to develop a story that will compel people to want to not just support us, but also give us money. In addition to being able to understand how to develop a product or service that would set us apart from other people, and where it's a service that we can also repeat over and over again. So all of those things were challenging, but it's something that every business has to consider. And in the nonprofit world in particular, you also have a board. So now you have to have this relationship with people that were not there at the very beginning to help you create it, but they have say so in how it's run. They have say so in how far you can dream and how fast you can go. And they're also responsible for supporting you to make sure that it's sustainable and that you're responsible in the actions that you take. None of this came from my training as a scientist. So for me, it's all of that. And the space that I'm in now is, how do I learn how to lead well? And
Mm,
leading well means, how do I take care of my team? How do I consider the growth of our business in a way that we can scale up and we can grow? But the values that I had in the very beginning, they continue to live on within our team. And that it is seen in how we interact with people within any community.
mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily see it as a challenge. I see it as this is the cost of being able to continue to do business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. And you handle it very gracefully and have, just I love watching the way that you interact with kids, with their parents, with your board. It is a lot and you are doing a great job. So, yes. Okay, so I know that there are many things that fill your heart with joy in the work that you're doing, but I thought one way that the listeners could understand just a little bit more, get a glimpse into STREAM innovations, is if you could share one story about the impact that STREAM innovations is having on the students in our city.
One story that I can share, this is definitely me going through my Rolodex in my mind, is is I guess kind of twofold. One is with our younger programs, third through sixth. Those programs are done intentionally to just throw a lot of different activities in front of them within a particular theme and hope that they connect with something and that they can share it with their parents. And one story that sticks with me is we were in Pleasant Grove,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very hard day because most of our programs work concurrently. And well, no, they work, yeah, they happen at the same time, at different times, but the same day. So
Right.
on a given day, I could have 3 programs running from 9 to 5. So this particular day, I was done with this amazing thing called STREAM. I thought to myself, all right, so this is our last summer. We're not doing this anymore. And I hadn't told anyone, but I was
But you were
really
done.
putting together the logic and the rationale as to why this is it. And we go in and we do our programs, and I think this one was around bridge building, and we have beautiful young innovators, because we call our students innovators, that were participating. And we were wrapping it up. We had done some bridge building stuff. I was like, all right, great. And I had one of my team members with me. And we always have students of different races that are participating in our programs, because we do not specify race. It's just more so location of where you
Mm-hmm.
see our program. And there was a very nice white mother that came up to one of my team members and said, I need to talk to you. And I thought, okay, let me get ready to be able to protect my team. And she said, I want to say thank you for being an example for my daughter, because before this day, she hated science.
Oh.
And she said, when she came in, you were having your programs, and her brother loved science. So he was definitely going to be here. So I dropped her off and asked her if she would participate. She comes in and she walks back out and she says, Mom, there's science on that table. And the mom says, just try it out. And she says, well, they have some different things that, look like crafts. And, I love crafts. So she was like, all right, crafts, go with it this time. If you don't like it, then we don't have to do it again. So she builds a bridge and she comes back out, and her mom picks her up and she's super excited. Oh my gosh, I built this bridge and I built it by myself and this is amazing and I love it. And the mother comes in and she says, thank you for doing science and for women being present here so that my daughter can see that this is for her too.
Mm.
And in that moment, I have tears streaming.
I can imagine.
Because it was the thing that I needed to hear that day. And then she shifts and turns to me and she says, whatever it takes, please do not quit. Please do not quit doing this. We need this so much. And I thought to myself, but you don't know, I really wanted to quit today.
I was going to quit today.
I was going to quit today. And those stories, and I have a lot of them, are stories where parents or students or stakeholders would come and talk to us about the impact of our work. And as I'm developing programs and we're working hard to, develop partnerships and collaborations across the city, you never imagine what the impact will be on the other side of that.
Right.
And that is something that has been one of the most rewarding things, because if a student can say, before you, I didn't know, and after doing activities with you, I believe in myself a bit more, I'm a bit more aware of something that I like because of the care and the programs that you guys develop, that's totally a win for us.
Yeah. Well, so that leads right into talking about your If Then ambassadorship,
Yeah.
because it's women in STEM. So tell us about that and how you know, I know about it because I know you, and I read the article about it because I know you, but I know most people probably don't have a clue what it is or how big of a deal it really is. So I want you to make a big deal out of yourself, which I know you just love to do.
I don't. So it's the AAAS If Then Ambassadorship, and AAAS stands for the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which is out of DC. And If Then is a very large project initiative developed from the Lighter Hill Philanthropies group out of Dallas, Texas. And Lighter Hill is a billionaire that made the decision that we need to support girls in STEM, period, amongst the many things that she does. And If Then is kind of a tagline for, if we support a woman in STEM, then she can change the world. So 125 women were selected across the country. I am one of two from Alabama.
Yep.
And in 2019, they flew us all into Dallas to do videos and photos and press kits. But what they also did was they had each woman to stand in one of these 3D booths where they would do a full body scan. And it wasn't painful, just in case someone's wondering. It's just taking pictures of your body, not in an invasive way, so that they could develop a 3D printed life-size statue of each woman. And this was done so that there is physical representation of the value of having women in STEM, one. Two, because there have not been more than 10 statues in a given city of real women highlighting the work that they do. So this will be the largest representation of women in America that are in statue form. And for all of them to be connected to STEM is an amazing thing. So a really quick update that's hot off the press
Oh,
from
yes.
yesterday
Oh,
is that they are announcing that May 15th, the statues will be in Dallas, Texas, in a park there. The idea was for us to launch in 2020. Pandemic happened.
yep.
Things happened. But for everyone, they'll have an opportunity to go to Texas. They'll fly all of the ambassadors out to be able to see our statue, stand next to our statue. I've never seen it in person.
So
And
cool.
it's surreal for me because I don't have a point of reference for someone else that I know that has a statue. I don't.
That's amazing. Now I know somebody who has a statue of themselves.
It's very surreal, but I also think about the impact that it has on my nieces, the impact that it has on my nephew, on my godsons, on all of the innovators that I serve, to be able to say the work that I'm doing is significant, and it's not just because I'm someone super special. I'm The work that we're doing is significant because I am working to change the world, and you can do it too. And this statue is a representation of 100 plus women that are going out here every day and doing what we can to change the world.
So I know that through this program, you were able to do some TV shows here in Birmingham for middle school girls, right? I got that right?
Yes. So you did. So early 2020, we did a quick collaboration with the CBS TV show Mission Unstoppable,
Uh-huh.
which comes on Saturday morning, for students to recreate some of the experiments that they do, and for them to show it on their social media, which was a big deal. It was really cool. But currently, we're working on a video project with some of the other ambassadors where we're filming to tell their entire story. And what's
Mm.
unique about it is that Stream Innovations did a casting call to have two amazing middle school girls to host our show. And they are local, and I'm super excited. They are phenomenal. What I'm most excited about is because of this opportunity, because of us developing this video series, they have an opportunity for other people to see how amazing they are. And I love the opportunity for us to showcase more students, particularly across Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes Alabama doesn't get the break that it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
There are amazing people here doing amazing things. And from my standpoint, it is how can I showcase the amazing young innovators that are here? So we're going to continue to do video projects to be able to showcase the work that is being done here with girls and with boys, and for the rest of the world to be able to see what's happening in Alabama, preferably in Birmingham.
Okay, so you didn't ask me to say this, and I may be stepping out of line, but I just feel like I should say that if somebody is inclined to help and wants to help with that video production and wants to be a part of sharing the story, that you would love to talk to them.
Of course, the first thing with Stream in front in nonprofit life is to be able to develop relationships with people. If
Yeah.
anyone is interested in the work that we're doing on a programmatic level, being able to expand it to other places, as well as some of the individual projects that I talked about, whether it's If Then or anything else that we're doing, please feel free to reach out. Our website is streaminnovations.org, stream, STREAM, innovations, plural.org. We are across all social media platforms at Stream Innovations. Outside of Twitter, we are Stream Innovate, but we're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please feel free to DM us. And if you want to email us at streaminnovations.org, and someone from our team will be able to reach out to
And we will have all of that in the show notes. So if you're driving and thinking, "Oh my goodness, I can't remember this all," it's there for you. Just go back. Don't look at your phone right now. Okay. And one other little plug for Stream is I do know that you're preparing for your 6th anniversary coming up
We
very
are.
soon.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. So we have never had a huge celebration for Stream.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also our first time celebrating the work that we've done over the last 6 years, but 4 years of programming. We have impacted over 1,700 innovators, 1,700 through all of our programs. And we have had amazing support from over 200 individual donors. We've had corporate sponsorships, we've had grants that we've applied to. Thanks so much to the Community Foundation, Alabama Power, the state of Alabama through local representatives like Representative Marika Coleman. We know that the work that we are doing now is just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm.
So, with this 6 year anniversary, we want to be able to share our story so that more people will be able to, one, support us or join us in being able to change communities with Stream Innovations as the focus. So, one of the things that we're very interested in doing is, of course, having more donors. Please, consider being a one-time or a recurring donor because we could always use that support, but as well as people that would like to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
We would definitely appreciate parents and adults being able to further support kids and innovators to be able to identify the things that they love. And of course, corporate support means that we have companies that are putting money forward to say, we support what you're doing because hopefully you are developing the workforce that we need for the future.
Right.
And we have no problem focusing on specific industries to make sure that students are aware that that exists. In Alabama, there's so many different careers that you could choose. And unfortunately, we do not do a great job of making sure that students see the wide variety of things that they could do in this state. So we would love to have additional support, particularly on our 6th anniversary, to be able to expand the work that we do in Jefferson County and also across the state of Alabama.
Well, Adrienne, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I have an advantage that I have a front row seat to the work that you're doing. So I'm so glad that I get this opportunity to share with others the awesome work that you are doing. So thank you for your commitment to providing exposure to kids in our communities to life paths that they may not have had. And for listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Stream Innovations, if you'd like to volunteer or donate, all of Adrienne's contact info, Stream's contact info is in our show notes. So please do not hesitate, reach out to her and be a part of the great work that she's doing. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Kim, for this opportunity. I really appreciate being on your show.
Absolutely.